You look at a Zilich or an SVG in a couple years past, when you only have to prepare for one race or two races or a handful of races, and they're all on road course type racetracks, it's a lot easier than managing the whole year,
week to week.
and I think that's where you'll really start to see exactly what Zilich is made of.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go on the ball. What a race! California's Kevin Harvick does it. Straight making right there. You're the man.
Welcome to Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour, presented by Echo Park Automotive and NASCAR on Fox. I'm Kevin Harvick. She's Caitlin Vinci. He's Mamba Smith.
There he is.
We had a great one this weekend.
Yes, we did.
Another good one.
You flew back last night. I just got here a bit ago.
Early morning.
I had to leave my hotel at 3:30.
That's commitment.
Because I had heard through the grapevine from people who live in Austin, they're like, hey, that airport can randomly be packed in the morning, even at weird hours. So I was very paranoid. As you know, I'm like very on
You have
edge
clear?
About what?
You have clear?
I don't. Well, I have TSA.
Pre-check. As long as you have pre-check.
Need both.
Yeah.
You
Probably
think so?
do.
Absolutely. At some of those airports, you got to have clear.
The smaller airports.
How do you don't they like scan your eye or something weird?
Why, do you have fake eyes?
She's worried about
or do you wear like contacts to make your eyes different colors or something?
No, I wear contacts and glasses, obviously. Doesn't change my eye color. But I'm just saying that's like weird. It's like an eye scan thing.
I feel like you would. Huh? I mean, you scan your eyes when you go through TSA.
Yeah, but this is like the government has it or something.
It's the same.
I mean, they've got it anyway, so you might as well give up.
Yeah,
I mean, every time you look at your phone.
Your phone's been scanning your
Every time you look at your phone, you might as well just give in.
All right, I need to get clear then.
No, I don't have clear, but
first,
I like to have
travel?
it. I like to have it for options.
Yeah, it's options.
I mean, he's going to Mexico every other week. He needs clear.
Not every other week. Colombia's in there.
Oh man, how was your weekend?
It was good.
Yeah, how'd it feel to be back?
It was nice.
Can we take a moment and give a round of applause for KV?
Absolutely.
I mean, crushing the Cup debut.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah,
I was getting texts. Everyone's like, more Caitlin, more Caitlin.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. That's nice to hear. It was good though. I love your team out there, the Cup group, very welcoming from producers and talent. But like before the race started, before I put my pack and stuff on, I just kind of like took a walk down the track because I've been working towards this, what feels like my whole life. So I kind of wanted to take a moment to soak it in before we actually got going. So that was kind of cool just because, I started at the local racetracks and whatnot, and I've obviously covered Xfinity trucks, ARCA, but I had never done a Cup race on pit road.
So I got a question.
Oh boy, here we go, Kevin. What is
I
that?
have a question.
I can't
so
wait for
that
this.
first interview on Sunday, were you nervous?
I did have nerves on Sunday.
Okay, you were shaking.
Yeah, well, because I was nervous.
You were nervous. I love it. I love it.
So you saw her.
We were critiquing. Yeah, but we have some different angles of being able to watch while stuff's not on the air. So we knew we didn't say anything while she was on the air, but now that you got through it, that first one you were definitely nervous because you did a great interview, but your hand was shaking.
Yeah. What about my open on race day though? I thought it wasn't shaking for that big pit whip
it's
thing.
different. I'm telling you, it's different when they turn the camera on for the big show though.
Oh,
like
sure.
the pre-race is great. I mean, it's a big show. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. There's just something about that when it's all right, we're on, and you know that there's 3 million people watching.
Yeah, we were on Big Fox.
That's a different feeling.
I'm glad Kevin called that out. That's good.
Yeah. I think it's great. It shows you care.
Yeah.
Oh, I care all right. Yeah, I do. But it was good.
No, we
It's
loved
a good
it.
experience overall. So.
Well, you keep
Never
us
a doubt.
organized here too, so we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Never a doubt.
Now the nice part's over, so we're gonna pick on you. From
Now
here
we're-
Oh,
forward.
cool.
Yeah,
I'm ready
great.
for it.
Lock it in like every other week.
Okay, guys, we encourage all of the closers to keep subscribing on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review, 5 stars. We have a big show on tap today. And what's our social handle, Mom?
Listen, the social handle is Harvick
important.
Happy Pod.
There you go.
I've not messed that up in the last couple of
Excellent.
weeks. And one day I won't look right before I say it. I'll just have it locked in. Because I'm nervous.
Year
Talking about
2.
nerves. I'm nervous about messing up.
Well,
Harvick Happy Pod on all the things. And you can talk about Kevin's shoes because I really like these
Hey, you
ones.
never
Those
see my
are cool.
shoes.
Those are
Well, I
nice.
guess you do see my
I
shoes.
saw him this weekend, and you have him on this
Yeah,
weekend.
I like to break them in at the racetrack, and just that way I can just prove a point when I get here.
Yeah, a little, okay.
Yeah.
It's a little
These are a
swanky.
little different compared
People
to
can't
normal.
see that little. Well, how do you describe that?
I don't know.
Fluorescent-y.
It's kind of like a little hologram.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's a cool detail on the very back for
Jordan
those-
logo.
It's
on
all
the
in the
back.
details, guys. It's all in the details.
details.
That's right. Try to find something that everybody else doesn't have is difficult these days.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to footwear. What are these nappy ass things you got
Whoa,
on today?
hold on. These are P44.8s.
Oh, is
Where'd
that
you
something
dig
nice?
those things out from?
I accidentally, when people gift me stuff, I like to wear them and appreciate them. I had a shoot and we went go-karting. During the shoot, my foot in COTA, actually, my foot rubbed against the tire on the inside.
Wait, you were in
they look a
COTA?
little
No,
dirty.
not this year.
Did you see the race on CW this weekend?
Yeah.
They just happened to be on the go-kart track when that guy wiped out. Holy crap. They wiped that guy. I mean, he just absolutely demolished it.
It's so great.
That was awesome.
The go-kart track at COTA is awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. You
It was
should try
packed
it.
all weekend.
I should try that out.
Yeah.
Not me. You two can. You guys can do that. Okay, we have plenty to discuss after leaving the first road course race of the season. So we'll recap everything at Circuit of the Americas. Phoenix is up next. Probably a personal favorite of Kevin's.
Been there a few times.
Been there and
Done a
won a
couple
many a
fails.
time. So we'll look ahead to that. And of course, we've got the social sips, which include all of the mail back.
Oh, the mailbag and the voicemails. We got some good ones today.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. And I know Kevin had a very special word of the week.
So word of the week, y'all. Here we are, back again. This one actually came from Chase Briscoe when we asked all the drivers. My favorite thing about this one is it infuses a little bit of Vermont. Kevin's never seen Super Troopers. Let's roll the tape.
Well, Clint, we saw shenanigans on the pre-race with you, my friend, making fun of me. We saw shenanigans on the first lap.
I'm going to be more ready for it this time.
Will we see more shenanigans on this restart in turn one?
Yes. I'm almost certain of it. It's a calamity corner. It always has been. I got that term from him, and it happened 4 years ago, and it hasn't changed.
They didn't in the booth. They didn't pick up on it.
No,
but
I've stopped telling them.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I got tweets immediately after you said it, and people were like, "Ha, that's awesome!" Because that movie's iconic. Like, you really got to go. You guys got to watch it.
I
I've
know,
never
I feel
seen
like
it.
It's
kind of
hilarious.
behind in life that I haven't seen this.
No, it's a great movie. So when
Okay.
you see it, you'll understand why it's so funny.
Well, it just fits so perfectly. You would never know that was the word of the week, the way you phrased it out like
I
that.
said it three
Well,
times.
we try to put it in like it's just I have this organic vocabulary that pops up with unique words, but that's just definitely not the case. I have to have these words planted into my vocabulary. I'm not smart enough to actually think of the words like that. Mike Joy, no problem. Clint and I, not so much.
Not so much.
He
not
used
so much.
Calamity. That was a pretty good.
Calamity Corner.
Well,
yeah,
that's
that was
only
big
because
for
Mike
him.
told him that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Calamity. I like that word.
yeah, well, it was calamity, right?
It
off
was
the bat.
accurate, and
Yeah.
we'll get into all the specifics of what happened in the race. I kind of want to just go to the finish though, and the battle that we saw there, obviously with Bell, Busch, Byron, all those guys right in the mix. It was very. I feel like we got what we wanted to see out of that closing stint.
When you look at the end of the race right there, I mean, you had the guy that was on the pole in a 45 car of Tyler Reddick. You had Christopher Bell, who was so close last year, has won on road courses before. William Byron, he just kind of hangs out all day, scores some points, puts himself in a position, and shows up at the end of the race. And Kyle Busch. And the big thing for Kyle Busch this weekend is his pit crew didn't have any mistakes on pit road. He didn't have any pit road penalties, and he put himself in position to win. I mean, he drove the absolute heck out of that car. And I've been in this position where you've been on a losing streak before, and you want to do all that you can do to try to put yourself in a position to win. And they've been putting themselves in that spot. They just hadn't been able to capitalize on it. And, this goes green. Kyle Busch wins, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that his car definitely fell off at the end, but he and Christopher Bell put on a heck of a show. We saw Bell be pretty nice to him. I was getting a little word for Bell on the broadcast. I'm like, man, I don't know, Clint. We might have to use the bumper right here. And when I heard Christopher talk about everything that happened last year and him being well aware that he didn't want to do that again, and we actually saw him, and he mentioned it on his victory lap interview, we actually saw him turn to the right to abort a pass attempt in turn one to keep from hitting Kyle Busch's car. He wanted to do it super clean. Those guys were all pretty clean there at the end of the race, and so
nice
it was one of the best road course races that we've seen in this next gen car, and I think that those 4 guys have been in the mix of several of these road course races, especially at COTA.
Yeah, and that's saying something, right? Because there's so many good road course races that we've seen. What were you about to say?
I was going to say, we've documented too. We're talking about how it was clean to the finish. Kyle and Chris have had issues in the past.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was funny. At one point, it was Kyle, Christopher, and William, who are all guys that have. I mean, those guys drove for Kyle. Like Kyle has created some beast out here, right? But through his truck program, and I'm pulling for him so hard because I want to see Kyle Busch win. He's to the back portion of his career, and it's like watching a Steph Curry, a Kevin Durant, a LeBron James, guys that doing things at a high level deep into their career, and you want to see him have that success, and they were so fast, and you could tell from the beginning of the race when he was making moves forward, and I'm 99.9% sure Christopher Bell saw his life flash before his eyes a couple of times when he was getting close to that bumper of the 8, because it was the angles that he was getting to him, it was like he was trying so hard not to, that he was almost going to make a mistake and run into Kyle.
And that's what I was worried about. As he was trying so hard not to hit him, I'm like, man, at some point
close.
You're gonna have to lean on him a little bit. But ultimately, he stuck to his guns and wound up with a tire advantage there at the end. When his crew chief Adam Stevens put him in a position to, I felt like Adam was like, look, we aren't going to beat him. We've driven up to his bumper and not been able to pass him on even tires. And we've seen Christopher and Adam do this before, where they put themselves in a position to have a tire advantage, get further behind, and feel like on those runs where you got to go further than you've gone all day, that the tire advantage will pay off in a bigger way than it has the rest of the day. So we saw the lap times immediately pick up, got a little bit, as the shadows started to creep onto the racetrack, it got a little bit faster, and I think the pace definitely picked up as the race went on. So it was a heck of a finich. I think that when you look at the 20 team of Christopher Bell and winning on a super speedway last week, winning this week on a road course, we've been talking about those guys being championship contenders, and now we know that they can win on any style of track. And we're going to Phoenix, where they've had a lot of success and won some races there in the past. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when we get in the middle of the year. We talk about these quick starts like William Byron had last year, and whether you can maintain and manage that pace throughout the middle of the year. And that's always what develops into those championship teams, are the guys that can develop that strategy to motivate themselves throughout the whole year.
And I think one thing about, we saw one of the most respectable, after coming off of what we felt like, maybe not disrespect, but just a lot of chaos at Atlanta. Like these guys raced so respectful, and it was 4 cars under a blanket. And I think that if Christopher would have laid the bumper to Kyle Busch, who is a Chevrolet, and then there was another Chevrolet and William Byron behind him, because if you watched how William raced against Christopher Bell, it was very respectful as well. I think if Christopher lays the bumper to him, it kind of opens the door for William to be able to do that, right? When you see someone do that, you're like, okay, you did it. Okay, that's how we're going to finish this thing.
Yeah, I think that it would have definitely tipped Kyle over the edge if he would have, roughed him up too bad. I think that, he was still in a position there where he probably could have been a little more aggressive, but I think that we talk about it with Carson Hocevar last week, you earning the respect of your competitors. Sometimes you have to use those situations to try to earn that respect. And I think Christopher, listening to his victory lap interview, really wanted to earn that respect from Kyle. Hey, I do want to race you correctly. I do want to do things the proper way to get this win. So now, if he's not already won a race, is that different? I don't know. Maybe not in that situation with Kyle, but I think if he hadn't already won a race, I think that, that he may have been in the same boat wanting to earn that respect with Kyle. So those are the types of situations that we're talking about with a Carson Hocevar. And you saw that from Christopher Bell. And sometimes that's how you write those situations. But those guys, and the way that Bell was so delicate with Kyle Busch, allowed the 45 and the 24 to get in the race.
Right.
So it almost, that was why I was starting to get antsy in the booth, was it drug 2 more guys into the race
mix,
that weren't really going to be in the race if he wasn't as patient with him as he was.
But Christopher Bell got it done. Kevin's referenced the victory lap. That interview is available now. We're also talking a little bit about respect, and Carson Hocevar's name has come up. A week ago, he was very much in the conversation for ruffling feathers, had a pep talk from Ross Chastain. Now, 7 days later, Ross Chastain is the subject of in question, if you will. And I want to show what happened right out of the gate. I mean, lap 0, Kevin joked.
Yeah.
Ross, I was listening to, obviously, Chase Elliott's radio because I had his pit. Alan Gustafson saying, he was trying to take it 4 wide. And once again, we were, a result of that. What do you make of this move? I kind of know. And
yeah, it's just a bad move. And I used to have this talk with Max Pappas, and he's like, he comes from a different form of racing. And I used to tell Max, I said, do you really think that you're that good on lap 0 to be able to pass that many cars and take that many chances I said, do you think you're that good, or do you think that everybody's just trying to protect themselves from getting their car tore up, knowing that you're going to run over somebody, trying to make these bonsai moves on lap 0? And I think it's worst case scenario for Ross. He ran into the 9 again, and those guys have obviously had a little bit of a pass together, but this was definitely the worst move of the race, and I think that Ross being overzealous at that particular point just tore up a bunch of race cars. We saw Zilich get tore up. His teammate Denny Hamlin got tore up. I mean, there were several other cars that had damage from that instance as well. But man, that's a tough move on lap 0.
Yes, it is.
It was aggressive. I mean, that corner is already like
it's inviting.
It's inviting to that, and like the move on the cars he was making the move on, I think was fine. Like that, you see them funneling. Chase was 1 row in front, and that was the part. Like he didn't slow himself up enough to not run into the 9. He got in there far enough to be door to door with whoever he was next to. Okay, fine. It was aggressive, but fine. But hitting the 9, like when he was basically defenseless in that situation.
Well, I mean, if he didn't hit the 9, he was going to hit the next guy.
Right, yeah.
Because he wasn't making the corner. Yeah. And I think that those are just the moments, especially on a day like that when you have a car. I felt like he had a car that was capable to run in the top 5, and really from that point forward, we saw him run 7th or 8th, but never really ran in the top 5 all day.
Can y'all tell me? I was watching from Hoppin' on a NASCAR Sundays this weekend, having a good time.
From a bar.
From a bar, and I was watching this over and over again. Denny sliding through and hitting Austin Dillon, like what? I couldn't get a good picture of it quick enough.
I think we were all a little unclear on how they were actually officiating the race through the S's. Apparently, turn 6 became not part of the S's anymore.
Right.
And so what started happening throughout the day is all that dirt from the grass that they drove through when everybody realized they could cut turn 6, because the grass, as the corner would come around, the grass kind of stuck out here. So you had to go through the grass, and that dirt started blowing all over the racetrack. Okay. And as they went to the inside of the racetrack, all that dirt blew what was the normal groove. And I think when Denny had a little too much speed and he got in the dirt, it was just super dirty out there, and he lost it.
Okay. Because I was like, how did we end up here? And he's just like sideways.
Yeah, and he'd already lost his fender in lap 1.
Yeah.
So
he was having a day.
He got his fender cleaned out after the 9, and everybody else pushed Ross pushed everybody up the racetrack, and then the 87 jumped over the right front fender of the 11 and knocked the fender off.
Oh.
It was exciting right out of the gate. We're recapping what happened with Ross Chastain. To me, though, it's very interesting that Chase Elliott still came back for the finish that he had, and we documented it on the broadcast, the amount of times they had to come to pit road for a variety of things. That's pretty impressive.
Well, his team did a great job. They fixed the car up. They played some strategy to get some points there in the one stage, and wound up pitting there at the end for fresher tires, and wound up with good restarts and made up some track position. Somehow wound up 4th. Yeah, I don't know how they did that with everything that happened and they worked on throughout the day. But 9 car felt like he had a card. I felt like he had a car to win. A lot of confidence out of Chase Elliott, just the way that he talked about himself and his team pre-race, and we've seen their success early in the season with his confidence and the speed in the car. So to come back and finish 4th was pretty impressive. I think, a couple other guys, Alex Bowman had a miserable day.
He's better there than I think people expect.
He finished ninth. He finished ninth somehow with all the issues that they
penalty.
had. Gangster. And he was super good at the road courses and especially at COTA. Came back to finish ninth. Chris Buescher finished seventh. Fords were awful this weekend. And, I think as Brad Keselowski put on his X post that he feels like Chris Buescher is definitely one of the best road racers in the series.
In the next gen car, he has been.
And he has been
finishes.
A lot of fun. We had his footwork on TV this weekend and gave us some great insight on the braking techniques that COTA just creates these variances in how you have to use the brake.
Yeah.
And you could really see that through Chris's pedal because you got heavy braking into turn one. You got the S's that are flat and kind of that rhythm section. You got the stadium section where it's just slow and got to have forward drive. But a couple other cars were Todd Gillen. He finished 10th and Noah was in the top 10.
And he spun out at one point.
Yeah, and he was in the top 10 as well. So had a few Fords in there, but they never had the speed that the Chevrolets and the Toyotas did.
No.
Never in contention. Joey Logano was never in the game.
Blaney
Austin Cindric was awful.
Yeah, which is weird. I don't understand.
He's the best, one of the best Ford guys.
Struggled on the road, like when it comes to road courses. I thought this car and his background, it was going to propel him into the playoffs on a regular basis. And it just, for whatever reason, hasn't been able to translate, I think, like a lot of people thought.
And we saw he and Ty Dillon getting together there. Ty shoved him out wide in turn 20.
And Austin said
Austin
no,
right rear hooked him. So it'll be interesting to see if there's anything said about that. But when you go back and you look at all this, you saw the 1 and the 9 get together right there, tore up the 87. So late in the race, we saw the 1 and the 88 heated at each other there. We never found the start of it, but we saw SVG shoving him around after he felt like he was put in a bad spot. We saw the 19. I really thought that he would have a good day, but I feel like now we're starting to see him these occasions where he's driving over his head a little bit. Got into turn 6 too hot, smashed into his teammate there in the 54 car of Ty Gibbs. And then we saw Daniel Suarez make a mistake in turn 19. He got off the racetrack on low air, and that car bottomed out, and it jumped the back off of the ground and spun out. And as a team owner, it just never fails. The next guy to hit him was Connor Zilich. And he wound up hitting his teammate Daniel Suarez and tore up those two cars. So a lot of intense action. You see Zilich in the barrier there in the right front torn off of Suarez.
It's unfortunate.
And just just an easy mistake to make in these cars. And Daniel just got off the racetrack a little bit there and made that mistake, got turned around. But they had a solid weekend, both of those guys.
I was going to ask you, this obviously isn't a fair representation of his weekend. I mean, when you look at what he did in the Xfinity Series and then making his Cup Series debut, I mean, where do you think he would have finished if he'd gotten to run it in true form?
I thought based on Connor's lap times, I thought he could have run, in the middle of the top 10, 5th to 7th, 5th to 8th, somewhere right in that range from a speed standpoint. I felt like it would have been the best racing experience that he's ever got on a road course.
Back to front.
Because of the talent. Not really the passing. We've seen him be able to pass in everything that he does. Racing against guys that are capable of achieving his caliber of performance. And what I mean by that, when you see the SVGs and the Connor Zilich and the elite road racing level guys come into the sport, they have this ability to perform well. But typically with our guys that race week to week, they study and get better. Yep. They're making these road racers that are here consistently now, they'll study the crap out of Zilich and all the things that happened this weekend. And we heard Christopher Bell talk on our interview this week about going back and studying some things that he wasn't doing very well leading into the race that he cleaned up. So those guys are going to be, and as we've seen with SVG, I feel like he's made all those Chevrolet guys better. He's made his teammates better. He's made the Hendrick guys were already good, but pretty soon they all catch up.
Yep.
So, I think for Zilich, that would have been the best experience that he got. He got experience in the car. I still think he performed at an elite level for, his experience and background and everything that he has going on.
Yep.
But I really would have liked to seen him be able to race with those front guys and just get that experience because he's really not had too many challenges from multiple guys, maybe here and there from a road race side since karting, I believe. I think in karting, when he would get in these situations, we'd see him do the same things. We've seen him do it in the Trans Am car, all the cars that he's raced, but very rarely has he been around a group of guys that are 10 guys that can achieve the speed and things that go with road racing.
Yeah, know where to put your car and to either keep you from getting by, being able to play defense and offense at the same time.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't had to. There's only so many people that can do that. And here in the Cup Series, there's a lot of them that can do that. And I look at it and I think like if AJ Allmendinger, because he has the most wins in NASCAR on road course,
who was in contention this week.
He felt like they sucked
in practice,
all through practice, all through qualifying.
They all kind of felt like they sucked.
They felt like they sucked. And then you said it. He can put, for one lap, he can put a race car on his back and make it happen, especially on a road course. So if he's like let's say like the Brady of road course racing, and then you got SVG who's like Mahomes, who's like allowed to he can slide it around and doing it from different angles. Like watching them do it is amazing, and they've elevated everybody. Now Connor is here. He's elevating them to the next level too. And I think our guys, what this has shown is you can't just come to NASCAR Cup Series racing and just beat our guys just because we run predominantly ovals.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give it to you any way you want it. How you want this out, we can give it to you.
So here's the other thing that happens. Like, you look at a Zilich or an SVG in a couple years past, when you only have to prepare for one race or two races or a handful of races and they're all on road course type racetracks, it's a lot easier than managing the whole year.
Week to week.
And I think that's where you'll really start to see exactly what Zilich is made of. We know he can get it done on the road courses, and we know he can get it done preparing for one race on a road course in a Cup car. The challenge becomes, how do you manage a 38-week season, more money in your bank account, all the girls out there looking for a new girlfriend or a new boyfriend. There's a lot of life things that you have to manage around that, and then you also have to maintain that level of preparation on an every week basis, and you have to do it on ovals.
Yep.
And you have to do it on different ovals, and you have to do it more appearances, and so your time becomes crunched very quickly when you go Cup racing, and that's the thing that really affects people more than anything. Is how do I manage my time and all the things that it takes to get there? Because preparing for less races is a lot easier than preparing for a whole season. So it's very difficult for these kids, and I think we've seen it with Ty Gibbs. We've seen it with some of the other young guys that come into this series. Is how do you manage the whole season?
Yeah,
I'm kind of curious too, when a young, new, promising talent comes in like that, what kind of dynamic is that creating in the garage for some of the guys who maybe aren't performing at the level they need to, and they know there's this new kid on the block that might be, all the teams are vying for him. And we know he's already kind of associated with one, so that seems to be where he may end up. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, what kind of environment does that cultivate in the garage area when someone like that
start looking around and let's just take Hocevar for example. When you look at Justin Haley and Michael McDowell, right? So he's ultra fast. Well, he's in the same cars. That immediately puts that pressure on those two teammates. And you look at the Trackhouse situation, it immediately puts pressure on Ross Chastain, Daniel Suarez, and SVG because of the speed that he has on a road course. So, a new guy coming in like that, it makes everybody have to stand up and pay attention because somebody's going to lose their seat.
There's only so many.
When it's all said and done. And you look at a guy like Corey Heim, you look at a guy, there's just constantly pressure from somebody new coming in. If you don't elevate your game and you don't pay attention to the ovals and the road courses, and you better block your whole life out for it, because if you don't, somebody else is going to. But that's what it takes at this level. So Zilich did a great job. I think everybody's expectation is he's going to be great. He's done great in everything that he's done so far. Xfinity Series, he's going to learn a lot this year. The ovals will still be his biggest challenge, but ultimately on the Cup side of things, it's really about how you manage life and how you manage all the things that you have to do to maintain the level of performance that you want. Takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And how do you do it every week?
And he's got, you add that Red Bull thing in there, like that's a mega brand to have around you. And the influence and the things that they want you to do off track. And like they do a great job with all their content, which is a huge part of it. But the main thing still has to be the main thing, which is getting prepared, making sure you're right for this race car so you can do your job.
And you go back, you can go back
level.
however long you want. I mean, you take a guy like Casey Atwood. Casey Atwood was
Reed Sorensen.
Yeah, Casey Atwood was the next. He was the next guy, and Ray Evernham said that was going to be the guy, and he never panned out because as soon as they got there, they had access to everything that they wanted in life. You have access to anything that you want, and having the right people around you to manage that scenario and being able to keep the driver motivated to prepare at a high level is really hard to do.
It was a good weekend for Connor Zilic overall. Very impressive. It's going to be fun to watch him as his career continues to progress. One other thing I want to touch on from the race was the Kyle Larson wheel falling off, because this, of course, is going to bleed over into future races with the suspensions and stuff. This is not the first time we have seen some issues with this pit crew, which is a bit surprising given the caliber of this race team.
Well, we've been very critical of Kyle Busch's situation, and because he's been running up front and had these scenarios happen, like you see right here with the wheel falling off or pit road penalties. But we have seen this weakness out of the 5 car as they've gone through, the last couple of years for sure. They've had some catastrophic pit stop moments that have taken them out of races, and this was actually another one of those moments that will have the effect of things with suspensions and like that going forward. So there's a lot of pressure on these pit crew guys. The pit stops are super fast, and you have to be right on the edge of making a mistake. These guys have definitely made a few more mistakes than most of the teams on pit road.
The Achilles heel of the 5 team is not outside; it is themselves. Like their weakness. They're good on every racetrack. They're fast cars, one of the best drivers in the entire world, one of the best pit crews on pit road when it comes to how fast they can get the job done. Sometimes you don't need to go 10 tenths. Like just back it down a little bit. Just make sure we can give up a little to make sure that we can do what we need to do and be there at the end.
You don't want to take. You can. I'd rather be a little bit slow than make the catastrophic mistakes. But it seems like we've definitely seen a little bit of a pattern with these guys of having some of those catastrophic failures on pit road.
Yeah. So that was the Circuit of the Americas race. It delivered in a big way. I think we got what we wanted out of that event.
I like
overall.
the new configuration. I thought that was good.
Yeah, the new configuration was really good. I think that we actually made more corners than we did with the old configuration. We took 1 mile off the racetrack, but I can't remember the count of laps that we had, but it was
95
the corners that we had more than what we did last year. But it was that's a heavy workload for the drivers, and that section has 2 big bumps in it that add to all
Massive.
the crashes into the ground by the rub blocks and things that you fight from the driver's standpoint. But when you go inside, those guys are busy. Their feet are busy. Their hands are busy, shifting, downshifting, a lot of mental drain, but really, really hard on your body.
I know Kevy's keeping us on time, but one thing that Chase Elliott said in the interview with you, he's like, I think that this configuration is better for our cars because of the draft, that we don't like the downforce part of it with that long straightaway. And I think that added to his confidence because he felt good about this configuration for him, and it paid off. So that was cool.
It was very cool. That was COTA. Now we're on to Phoenix.
Ooh,
this is a totally different animal. Yeah, he wore the right jacket today.
I meant to wear this. I almost wore it last week.
Last week I said, we're not going there.
We're not going there. Oh, well, I better.
It's okay.
Put it away.
I'm glad you got it on the right day.
Yeah,
now.
we got Phoenix
What
and
else
Mark
you
Martin.
got?
We got
Mark Martin
on.
That's cool.
Shout out,
Okay.
Mark.
Shout out, yeah. It's already time to talk pressure because that's what we like to do here in the media. Even though we only have 3 point Spain races in the books, there are already teams who seem to be pretty behind the 8 ball. And I was looking at this because the one that kind of stood out to me a bit is Brad Keselowski. If you look at his finishes, 26, 39, 15. We also saw he had to seek medical attention following the Circuit of the Americas race. You're talking about how physically demanding that is.
Yeah, it's cool.
He clearly, so what do you make of BK and where he's kind of been at in the last bit here?
I think that Brad's put RFK Racing in a good position with making the organization better. Being a driver's full-time job. and doing both is a big undertaking. But I think Brad has done a great job on the team side. I think that at some point, I think that the consistency of winning for Brad has to be there like it was at Penske from the driver's side. But right now we haven't seen that. And we saw flashes of that last year for a brief moment there in the middle of the year. And he did what he needed to do, capitalizing on a mistake there, from Buescher and his circumstances. But it's just not what we expect out of Brad. And we expect Brad to win multiple races in a year. And I think, from the preparation and physical side of things, this car is tough. And being able to put yourself in shape and do all the things that you need to do to really concentrate and perform at a high level is a lot of work off the racetrack. So I'm not sure what his issues were after the race, but it definitely seems like 3 races in, they're in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, his cool suit stopped working middle of the race, some point during the race, so he got overheated. Had to get some IV, but
and it was warm yesterday.
Yeah, they said he was feeling good after that. But yeah, it's really hard, right? I mean, we've seen Denny be able to do it, but Denny does it a little differently because he's driving for a team that's not his own. Like, it's a little different situation. So the scenarios, I'm sure the thought processes are a little bit different, but it's really hard to do both at a high level and do them very well. So I think for Brad, they're looking forward to getting to some normal mile and a half and get back into a rhythm so they can try to get that momentum going.
But what is the strength of it? Right,
I don't know.
What is the strength of the 6 team? Yeah, because it's definitely not road racing. I just don't know. I don't know that they've really found their way as to what their strength is.
It's strange because he used to be one of the best on the speedways, super speedways. Like you always would see Brad. I mean, he had a ton of wins on those style racetracks, and then
he's been up there on the super speedways. He just hasn't finished. Like, I feel like he's gotten in a lot of wrecks, like towards the end of those super speedways with the next.
Well, he was up there, and they wound up having the pit road issue, and went to the back, and then got tore up. But it just seems like it's something every week, for the last half of last year and this year. So it'll be interesting to see if they can correct that. But it's a big workload for Brad to do both. And I think one thing that you said right there, I think the other interesting thing that we've talked about a little bit on this show is where's Bell at as the team leader at JGR? Because it surely seems to be developing into the Christopher Bell leadership role and being kind of that lead driver. And it's not the 54 and it's not the 19. Denny's whole scenario has changed, and so it with the performance and the continuity and everything being consistent for that 20 team, it just seems like as they go forward, they have found a new leader of their team. When Denny Hamlin is not at JGR anymore.
It's been a long time since the 20 has been the leader in the clubhouse over there. I think back to probably Kenseth when he had his run, and before that it was Smoke. And now it seems like that's, coming back, which is pretty impressive. Christopher Bell is a dog certified. And you look at the top of the points, Blaney's up there and Byron's up there, and now we're talking about the same guys back in the potentially back in the Final Four. And Blaney, he was probably going to finish around the top 10. He would have had 3 been the only driver with 3 every race this year. And then Byron obviously has a win already. So like it goes through those guys. Like you're going to have to beat those 3 guys for sure to make a deep run.
I think when it comes to Christopher Bell, too, like obviously Adam Stevens, big part of that. I mean, we know what he's accomplished throughout his career. I talked to him for a while before the race because I had the 20. And he was saying, too, to your point about the continuity with the team, it's all the same road guys, same pit crew. He was like, honestly, that's kind of undervalued. When you have that exact core group for years on end, he said it's hard to do. Like this one wants to come off the road and this one's going to this team or whatever. He's like, I've been able to keep my people, which he said to me was a big part of it.
And when you look at those changes, and like we've talked about, we've covered Denny Hamlin, and they got off to a great start at the Clash and had a chance there at the end and at the Daytona 500, but they've had a lot of changes. And as you start going to these different styles of racetrack and you're preparing on a weekly basis, it becomes a different ball game when you can't just focus on something and the season actually starts. So, I think that you spend the first part of the 6 weeks of the season kind of getting over that honeymoon phase, and then you go through the middle part of the year, and it'll be interesting to see where that clicks for those guys to really go out, and are they just going to dominate some of these races? Are they going to struggle? Or are they not going to be able to capitalize on the days when they're good? What is the new 11 team going to look like?
One interesting thing about them is I talked to Chris Gale, and he was saying how this is the first time he's worked with a driver where he didn't have to teach them everything.
Yeah.
It was a very inexperienced drivers that he was always paired with in the past, like Eric Jones, Ty Gibbs. He's like, so now it feels more of a partnership where I don't have to mentor somebody. We just can kind of work together more.
Well, Denny Hamlin he's one of the best and one of the, obviously the most experienced, and he's going to be a leader. But even when you're a great leader and you're a great race car driver, sometimes you just never know if all the details are going to click. And it's tough. And when you have that continuity of the 20 team, all of a sudden, a little bit of that focus goes over here, a little bit of that focus goes over here. And the next thing you know, you're not the guy anymore. Yeah. So it's just an interesting time at JGR with all the different dynamics that they've created.
Keep in mind that penalty for Briscoe, that's going to be heard on the 5th. Okay. So we should have more information about that, on what's going to happen with James Small and all of that.
You talked about the 11, but I think about 2311 for a minute, because they also had some changes with Charles DeNike now being the crew chief for Bubba Wallace. Them boys are locked in right now. Like they are hitting on all cylinders. Like Bubba qualifying second,
big improvement
on a road course, and the way they did it with the 45 and 23 nose to tail, I was dying laughing because they went up the board. You're like, oh my god, I can't believe that worked like that.
When we were covering that lap in qualifying, it looked messy. As Reddick explained it through the S's, it looked messy through the S's for Reddick, and Bubba just ran him down. Yeah, Tyler explained it to us on the pre-race, but he said he had a terrible turn one, and he said I just had to throw it all out on the line, and it got away with it through the S's, okay, but Bubba had run all the way to his bumper, and I think it actually affected Bubba's lap more than it did Reddick's, but through the stadium and everything, he was able to make that time up, and I don't know if Bubba being that close hurt his lap, but if Reddick gets through turn one and he felt like the S's were okay. It just looked bad, but he said it actually, in the time-wise and everything, it felt okay. It just didn't look good. But he felt like he gave up a whole bunch of time in turn one. And we actually saw Reddick go back out to give Riley Herbst a rabbit to chase as well. So
that carrot out there, it makes a big difference.
It definitely they're definitely working together, and I think that dynamic seems to be working well with those three guys, but especially Bubba and Reddick at this point.
Yeah, so we are talking about Phoenix. We've kind of been all over the place here, previewing different teams and where they're at this point in the year. But I want to give some love to Kevin on all his success at Phoenix. I know we talk about it pretty regularly, but it's got to be nice.
I'm just an old retired guy at this point.
No, come on, no.
Phoenix was that was a great racetrack for me personally. I grew up there, and we would run on the West Coast. That was kind of our big race of the year. With Southwest Tour and Winston West back in those days. And you got to be there on Cup weekend. So it was always something as a West Coast racer you look forward to. And then to be able we won our first race as an organization at KHI there in the Truck Series back in 2002. And it was just a place where we had a lot of key wins. It was the first race win for SHR. Had a great win there in 2006, I believe it was, battling against Jimmy Johnson. And so to go to victory lane there for me was always pretty special, and mainly because of the fact that I grew up wanting to race there just as a regional racer and went there as a kid and race fan, and so to be able to have that success at that racetrack was pretty neat for myself and our fans.
By the way, you had 9 Cup wins there.
I'm gonna tell you what, when in 2014 there was one track that we had circled for sure. It was Phoenix. Like everyone, if we get to Phoenix and we need a win there, we ain't worried about it because Homestead is gonna be fine. But we got the guy.
Homeboy's gonna get it done.
He's gonna get it done for us right there. So that was always a.
It stayed that way until the last day. I mean,
till the very end.
In 23, we led all the way. To 8 laps to go, and
the caution came out.
And lost the race on a restart.
That one hurt my heart.
Had him beat pretty bad that day.
Mm-hmm.
And fun fact, Phoenix Raceway renamed a road to Harvick Lane in honor of its winningest driver.
There you go.
That.
Well, leads
Harvick
you
Lane.
straight to victory lane.
Did you know
Just
that?
follow the yellow brick road.
Did you know that?
Surely he knew that.
I knew that, yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
I'm surprised you didn't talk about that already.
happened a few
Usually
years
he's
ago.
like,
you know I don't talk about stuff like that.
okay.
If you guys figure it out, we'll talk about it. But I'm not going to bring it up.
Yeah, he's very humble, you know this.
Yeah,
He's
until
not
it's
gonna bring
brought
up
up.
Harvick Lane.
It's humble from the beginning part.
Well, Phoenix, are you going this weekend?
Hell yeah.
Okay, you have driver intros?
Oh my God. It's one of my favorite places to do driver intros. Phoenix, I can't wait to
Why
see
is
y'all.
that?
Because I always ask everybody, give us a peer. Give us the peer because the fans can get up next to it. And when the drivers walk up, they can high five them.
I
The
see
guys
what you're
stop,
saying.
do autographs. And that connection to the fans at Phoenix is better than almost everywhere else. And here, they do it backwards. Like, typically you come out of the deal and you go down the pier to the racetrack. They come from the racetrack to the pier.
When they redid
different.
the racetrack, they did a great job putting a start-finish line over there, creating that stadium feel down there in turns 3 and 4. And we've seen some great finishes. It's great for intros. It's great for pre-race. I mean, it's a really well thought out, section of the racetrack to be able to display all the cool things that you want the fans to see.
Yeah.
I always call it backwards, though. I always call turn 3 and 4, 1 and 2 still. I always get it backwards.
Yeah, I fought that for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's just a great city for racing. I love going out there.
Oh,
Phoenix
Phoenix
is
is sick.
definitely
And they're
going to
have to deal with Bell again.
Literally, he could win 3 in a row.
He could be 3 in a
easily.
row.
Yeah,
Easily.
yeah.
Yep.
And I think as we go into the season, this is a pretty important race to be able to put yourself in a position to understand where you stand for the championship race. We've seen the Penske cars dominate at Phoenix and win the championships the last few years, but I don't know that if you see a Christopher Bell get there, I don't know that I think he would challenge those guys for sure with the performance that they've had in the car. They just got to figure out how to get to Phoenix.
I'm interested to see, like, how do you think, how much are you trying stuff on the first Phoenix, and how much are you bringing what you think is your best? You know what I mean? Like, because it seems like Penske doesn't run super strong in the spring race. They're there, but they're not dominant. But every time in the fall race, they're just paddling that butt.
Well, when you look at the fall race and you look at those championship contenders, even as you start to get into the round of 8, there's a lot of times you look up there and the first 8 guys are the guys that are in the round of 8. And we talk about the details of racing at this level and racing this car. And that's what I'm referring to a lot as we talked earlier in this show. How many of those details can you stack? And how long can you keep that? And how many people on your team can you keep motivated for the whole season to prepare at that level? Because until you can prepare at that level all year, it makes it really difficult. But I would say that I would make my adjustments from the championship race to this race. I think with the option tire, this race, you're going to have some varying circumstances that you're going to have to deal with that you probably won't have to deal with at the end of the year, because NASCAR is going to pick, if the soft tire works well, they'll go back on the soft tire.
Yeah.
We've seen that. We saw what it did at Watkins Glen. We saw what it did this weekend at COTA. We saw, several of the racetracks that it's made the racing so much better. So if that soft tire that they're calling the option tire works, that'll be the tire that they go back and race on. So it'll be interesting to see who gets a good understanding of that. But it's going to be a little bit of a difference because you're always right on the edge with those rear stops and having the speed that it'll pick up in the center of the corner with that option tire, softer option tire. It's going to be interesting to see how they manage that.
I think it's huge for Reddick. When they showed up at the championship, they just weren't fast enough.
Yeah, they were never.
They just weren't there. So this is really big for them to try to figure out how to
make that
capitalize
happen
next time.
We have a lot to look forward to as we head further west to Arizona this weekend to Phoenix Raceway, and we have a lot to look forward to for Mamba's segment.
Oh, boy.
Social Six.
Ladies
Can't wait.
and gentlemen.
How many Cathys we got this week?
Oh gosh, right? Kathy count.
Before we get to the Cathys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your favorite segment, Mamba's Social Sips. This week, we are talking about Connor Zilic. Now, Connor has a good relationship with Jesse Love, and they send a lot of pictures back and forth.
Funny with
They're
each
funny.
other.
It reminds me of Bubba
Cute.
and Blaney
Back
and
in the
Chase back in the
day.
day. Right? I love that. And the hard competitors. But Connor is always caught sleeping, like literally sleeping, and they'll
He's a
post about it.
narcoleptic. He can sleep anywhere.
He literally can. So in his, he wins the race and gets on top of the car and hits the sleepy, put it in bed. Now, Steph Curry does this move when he it's his signature move when he thinks when the game is over and he's hit the last dagger shot. And so I thought that's what he was doing.
Like
he said in his interview, it's more about the Jesse Love stuff, but I'm sticking with the Steph
I wonder
Curry
if this will be his new thing he does every time now.
Better be.
Because there's a few of them. The backflip for Carl, the bow for Rowdy. They all have their little things. Is this his new thing?
What do you think?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about it right now.
Oh,
Sleepy?
Putting him to bed.
Yeah.
Putting him to bed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what night.
I guess that's what he's saying.
And you go back to the Denny piece where you talked about beating your favorite driver and things like that. That immediately got some backlash and you think about as soon as somebody beats you and does your pose in victory lane, then it's gonna
but then it's
you're gonna have to eat some shit.
Yeah, that's the best part. I love it. Jesse, we need you back in victory lane so you can hit him with the night.
So,
cute,
if Jesse beats Connor in a race and pulls Connor's move in victory lane,
awesome.
And what?
You want to talk about some serious crow to eat there. That I don't know, that you set the expectations pretty high right off the bat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. All right. We got voicemails. You don't remember the voicemails, right?
No, I forgot.
Okay. Well, let's hear the first one for this week's voicemail.
Hi, this is Alex from Wisconsin. Kevin, I saw your episode where you got to do drifting with Bowman, and it had me wondering, if you could do any race or any drifting in any car, which car would you choose and why?
Oh.
Well, I don't know anything about drifting.
Okay, so if you were let's clean it up a little bit.
Okay.
If you were to pick any car that you could go out and just have fun with and sling around.
Well, I did
car
have
would you
this Z06 one time, and you could take the traction control off that thing.
Oh,
Holy crap. I mean, that thing would roast the back tires off. And we'd take that thing into parking lots and we would drift that thing around and just blow the back tires off that car.
Okay.
But we had a couple of those Z06s that were fun to drive. But that's really I had a dually one time. It would do some pretty good donuts.
Okay. Dually donuts are cool.
Dually donut.
And it feels like that ball on a sling. Once you start to get the dually donuts going, it winds up. I mean, it feels like you're just slinging the back of the truck around, and that momentum just takes that thing and does some great donuts.
Blaney was with
that's the extent of my drifting.
Blaney was with the Dude Perfect guys, and the thing was him doing donuts where he's doing it in like some big building, and there was the beams, the support beams. He about knocked the rear clip off the truck.
Really?
He gets caught it. Yeah, truck donuts are different. Those are cool.
Yeah, dually donuts are definitely different.
I feel you. All right, I think we got another one actually. We got 2 voicemails this week. Yeah.
Hey Kev, I was just wondering if you seeing Keelan grow up and you're seeing him racing and you're helping him with everything. I was wondering if you see that closer mentality in him kind of coming to fruition, or do you think he's kind of taking a little bit different approach from Dad?
I love that one.
There is a win at all costs mentality that we have to sometimes walk him back from. So I think at some point that'll probably, I'm sure that'll be a topic of conversation. We went to Europe for one race, and he was kind of the outcast over there in Europe because he was the American as he raced karts. And he was finally in contention after 3 or 4 months of being able to win. And he was so freaking hungry to get himself to victory lane. And so it was 2 kids from the rival team that were first and second. And we went into the last corner, and we went from a ways behind, through the dirt, over the curb, to the lead, knocked the leader off the racetrack, and his teammate in 4th wound up winning the race. But needless to say that the sanctioning body and the other team in the FIA were not thrilled. Mm-hmm. And we got there the next week for practice, and they wiped him out going down the front straightaway in practice. And I had my first exchange, I believe the guy was from Germany, with a German dad. So
oh, Lord.
That was pretty
fun. But that was spirited
that was awesome.
Conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes to the voicemail question.
I would say that there will be some interesting topics on last lap maneuvers at some point that we will have to have a conversation about.
I remember last year he did this amazing move where he thread the needle on the last lap to get by somebody in a legend car race, and It's there, folks. All right. We also got some mailbag questions. This one was a bit long, but he has a question for each of us, so that's why we want to go with this one.
Nice.
This is from Seth Hernandez in Ohio. Caitlin, what was the best time you ever had at the racetrack and why?
So I was thinking about this earlier. I almost said this past weekend for obvious reasons because it was a special one for me. But I think it's always the championship race weekends are super special and the best time because you know you're going to have a champion at the end of the race. You're going to get to interview him, which I got to do a number of sit-down interviews with, like when Joey won, when Kyle won. Those to me are the best moments. Just getting to see a team put that together. And the season is over. But no, it's just cool to see, whoever makes that happen and being a part of it on the media side. I would say those are my better memories at the track.
Yeah, the last day of school is always super fun.
Absolutely.
It's always super fun. This is for me. How do you choose what to wear for each episode, and what's your favorite outfit you've ever worn?
I'm pretty curious about this myself.
How do I choose?
Yeah.
There's
obviously some thought that has to go into
This is
it.
obvious, it depends, right? Like that's planned per the racetrack.
Yeah, I try to do a little bit per the racetrack because I got some apparel from, being at all of them and doing different content stuff. So I try to give love to the racetrack we're going to, either before or after, or the partner that's, providing the race.
Or the winningest guy at the track would have been good.
Yeah, well, you know what? That would have been smart too.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get that one on another episode.
Just saying.
And then I got to
lane.
also consider what Kevin's going to wear a little bit to make sure that, I'm bringing a little bit of flair. So, because Kev keeps changing his shoes.
Yeah.
Unc has a very wide assortment. So, my favorite I wore a suit from Stitch by Mitch, and I put my cowboy hat with it. I look
Was
like
that the feather hat?
Yeah. So that's from Wrestler
card?
Company, and with the card from Nashville.
That
That was
was
my
cool.
favorite because I look like an oil tycoon.
I wouldn't get carried away.
I look like
let's not get too far out of the box.
All right,
here.
look here. I'm gonna wear it on an episode on here, and you guys tell me what you think I look like.
Oil tycoon.
Kevin, here's your question.
Okay.
How do you put up with Clint every weekend? Just kidding. No, easy. Just kidding. But the real question is, it's a dream of mine to get out of the factory and move the family to Charlotte and get in NASCAR. What's the best advice you can give to help me in the right direction to create that?
Well,
P.S. Leave the F alone.
Leave them the F alone.
Leave them the F alone, you Cathys.
Yes.
Yeah. Leave us alone, Cathys. I think that really finding a job in NASCAR is there's a lot of specialized jobs, but it's become very engineering based. I think that the hardest thing to find right now are people that actually want to work. And the unique thing about racing is it requires more hours than a normal job. So if you're not interested in putting more hours in than you would at a normal job, and you don't have a passion for putting in some extra time, traveling, sitting on an airplane, getting off the airplane at 2 a.m. and showing back up at work at 7:30, probably not the right gig for you, because this is racing is a lifestyle, and you have to have a passion for it like nothing else that I've ever seen, and you have to be dedicated to it 24/7. So I think there's a job for everybody if you have that passion.
Yep, I agree.
Great advice.
It don't matter if you're Josh Richter sitting over here or, a crew chief that you got to be locked in to make it happen every week. So you can outwork everybody.
That's right.
That works. Now, listen, that is all we have for Mamba Sips. Thank you so much. Be sure to give us a call if you want to leave a voicemail, 805-317-4175. And again, if you want to email your questions in, it is harvickhappyhour4@gmail.com.
There you go. Let us know your name and where you're from, and we might answer your question. We have many methods in which you can communicate with us.
Yeah, we got YouTube too, and Twitter and Instagram. We got all.
We got it all. We got all the things. Time now for our last call.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.co/audio. NASCAR is not responsible for this promotion and used under license.
So, Kevin, before we get into our picks for this week, let's take a look at the best bet of the weekend, courtesy of DraftKings.
We had another banger this week.
Banger.
Plus 1,700 with Christopher Bell.
You
you could have pulled in some cash off of Christopher Bell this week. But take the checkered flag with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Harvick. That's code Harvick for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
There you go.
But 1,700.
You know,
and you know, you look back at Bell's past performance on just at COTA. I mean, he was pretty solid from practice, and that's definitely a pretty good payoff there.
pretty good payoff.
And pretty solid in the burnout department, don't you say?
Absolutely.
It's time to grade that because we weren't too impressed a week ago in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens. It's amazing what happens when you put horsepower back in the car. So having horsepower in the cars allows you to spin the tires faster, and it makes more smoke. So
there you go.
Funny how that works.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
Good burnout.
I'm gonna go off and say I like that a lot of the burnout. They go to turn 1 up on the hill.
Yeah,
I love that, and then they come down usually and park it right in front of their crew and do a little nose stand in there.
Yeah, they do a good crew
and I think
celebration.
that up in turn 1 up there's a lot of sealer and paint, so it makes for good smoke. It was super windy yesterday, so
yes,
the smoke didn't stay buried around the car. Kind of blew back down towards turn 2 and turn 1. But I thought he did pretty good this week. I think we're going to give him a B.
A B.
Yeah.
There we go.
You know,
B
I
for
think
Bell.
He definitely had he was in a better position this week because he had more horsepower.
Okay, give me a number real quick because right now Chase Elliott is the top. You gave him like a 9.9.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. You know, it's like adding a new move to a gymnastics trick.
You're gonna need something
or
serious.
a skateboard trick or something like that. Like you're gonna have to drift around the wall with the left rear quarter panel touching the wall.
Yeah,
at Bowman Gray.
Yeah.
So that bar got set pretty high right off the
week
bat.
1.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, week 1 could be the one that wins it all.
Right.
I think in gymnastics, they do like a technical score and a choreography.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can start really breaking
Yeah.
this down and getting crazy with it.
Yeah, right.
Speaking of crazy, that's good. You and I are tied in the points.
Oh, really?
9. You're at 3. That's okay.
I forgot. Who did I pick this week?
This past week, who did you pick? Oh, shoot. I should know this.
Yeah.
William
I
Byron.
picked William Byron.
Byron.
Yeah, just
Thank
old,
you, Tyler.
old steady
Thank
Eddie
you,
there.
Ty. Old
Just
steady Eddie.
showed back up.
I was gonna
Always
be
does.
just fine until the spin with
Who'd you
Suarez.
pick?
I had Zillage, and we were just
that's
we were just
right.
making our way. We were just
Yeah.
I was like happy with it. I'm like I'm gonna have a good
Yeah.
place this week.
Yeah, I mean, you could be viewed as bad luck. I mean, he did finish last.
We talked about this last year, and you didn't believe me, and now you see what's happening.
Yeah.
A 3 point job.
So there's going to
Don't
be
pick
people that are
anything.
voting against Mamba picking them.
Right. That's how it used to be with Todd Bodine on our Raceday show. Anytime he picked someone, they always lost. It
Yeah.
was the Bodine
Okay.
curse.
Well, you got last this week, so good job.
Thanks.
So who are you picking this week for Phoenix? What do you
I'm
say?
going to stick with I'm going to stick with Bell.
There you
I just
go.
think they're on a heater right now, and
Love it.
I think they've been rolling through pretty well. And when you have that confidence in a guy like Bell, I think that just keeps building, and I think that continuity between the team is going to go a long ways for them to start the season here.
I'm repurposing your COTA pick.
Okay.
William Byron,
All
former
right.
winner there, 2023.
That'd
I
be
think
solid.
that team too is just like every week they're right there in the
And
fold.
they're notoriously good for being great at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
They are. Mamba, what say you?
That was my pick. I can't.
That's okay.
Yeah, but I
No,
can't
we
pick the
can.
same thing and gain points on you.
Yeah,
I
but you
mean-
could definitely lose some.
And I don't want you to curse me.
Never mind,
yeah,
you
so
can't
maybe
lose any
you-
points. You don't have any. Yeah.
Okay, it's not time yet to pick the Fords when Blaney and them boys, even though they'll be in the mix. It's not time for that yet. I'm gonna go with give me Kyle Larson. I need
some
points.
points
I need
here.
points, and they need to start getting this thing going. The first the speedway races are not his favorite cup of tea.
Yeah.
So we
Yep.
need to get this thing
They'll
going.
get it going.
They will. So Kevin's pick is Christopher Bell. Reminder that the victory lap with Bell is available now. Also, Kevin, you will be interviewing the guy we've been talking about a lot today for your Thursday.
I'm excited to interview Connor Zilic
That's cool.
this week. That'll be our interview on Thursday, and I have a little bit more background with Connor than probably most people. So we're going to ask him some questions that he probably hasn't been asked because nobody else knows.
Right.
So
Ooh,
that'll be
can't
fun.
wait for that.
And, hearing his Cup debut and the things that he was able to experience this weekend, I thought it was better that we had Connor after the race because we know that he's going to win Xfinity road course races. I mean, that's just a given as we saw last year and this year now. But I'm super intrigued about his Cup experience.
That will be nice to hear all that firsthand insight from Connor Zilich there with Kevin. All right, everyone subscribe on YouTube wherever you get your podcast. Rate the podcast 5 stars. Leave a review. Leave a voicemail. Leave a letter. Whatever you got, we will be taking them in. So we will see everyone after Phoenix next week.